March 16th, 2016, in order. Mr. Kubiak, please read roll call.
Robert Smith.
Here.
Maria Zapaznik.
Here.
Lori Cepeda. Here. Noah Karsten.
Here.
Thomas Lima.
Here.
Shane Carlin.
Here.
Leandro Alvarez.
Here.
Gilbert Carreras.
Here.
Luisa DeVideo.
Here.
Brittany Frizzoco. Michael Gianmarco. Nicori Cerrutia. Emma Holman. Here. Patrick Hurd.
Here.
Joshua Locke.
Here.
Jose Rosario.
Here.
Ken Salhini.
Here.
Jason Windrow.
Here.
Scott Kane. Michelle Brophy-Behrman. Mark Paolucci. Robert Santeri.
Here. All right, please rise. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'm now seeking a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Motion.
Motion by Representative Locke, second by Treasurer Costin. Discussion. Representative Rosario.
I'd like to add an item to new business, item B.
A motion is made. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Hurd. You want to just state your item in detail?
Narcan certification training for resident assistants.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, we now proceed to a vote. All those in favor of amending the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, and the amendment passes. Any further discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, we now proceed to a vote to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, and the agenda is approved as amended. Now move on to the approval of minutes of March 2nd, 2016. Is there a motion to approve
Motion.
the minutes? Motion by Mr. Locke, second by Mr. Rosario. Any discussion? Hearing none, we now proceed to a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, and the minutes are approved. We now move on to open forum, and we do have a few sign-ups on our open forum policy. I remind all the speakers that you only get 2 minutes to speak on one term in this open forum. First on our list is Samantha Phillips.
Okay, it's Phipps, but
Phipps.
do we go
Oh.
in order of our names that are on there, or can we?
Yeah, yes, I'd say we'll go in order of the names on the list on the sign-ups.
Okay, so anyways, I've printed out a few, a fact sheet, for the reason I believe, and we all believe that Narcan should be put into the dorms, and RA should be trained and have it readily accessible. And we have, I don't know, do I give them to you, pass them around?
You can pass them around to the body.
We have, the Good Samaritan law was passed again over the summer, so no one can be held responsible if somebody is in the middle of an overdose. If they were to call 911 or administer Narcan, they could do so without worrying about getting in trouble. If they were to also be participating in the drug use, they cannot be charged or in trouble while they're helping. But anyways, I'm gonna pass it on because I'm not too good at this, but I'm gonna let Jacob talk if that's okay. Jacob has more experience, if you don't mind,
Okay.
with the actual Narcan.
Okay then. Next is Jacob Rudy.
Alright, so my name's Jake. I am a person in recovery, also a student here. I'm 25 years old, which is like the main age group where overdoses happen. I'm also an overdose survivor, and Narcan is what saved my life. And you know, I'm not exactly sure what the reasons are from keeping the resident assistants from having Narcan, but I'm sure that those reasons aren't as important as a student's life. So, you know, that's really all I have to say, and yeah, that's about it. I don't need to speak anymore.
Thank you. Now, next on my sign-up list is Ashley Rice.
Reese. So I basically just want to touch upon the fact of the social stigma with addictions and whatnot. A lot of people think addicts are a certain type of person, and you can't be a successful person and be an addict as well, but that's definitely not the truth. And I think that at Rhode Island College doing this, we can really help to prevent and be proactive with this problem that is going on in our community. It is a serious problem, and it's something that we kind of need to address. So I think it would be better to educate ourselves, prepare ourselves, and hopefully not need to use it, but if so, we can save someone's life for a simple mistake that they have made. We all make mistakes, we all get into certain situations that we don't plan on being in, and that's kind of the situation with this type of thing. So just basically, I don't think that any student should have to lose their life over this, and we just want to help, and it's a serious situation that's kind of going on in our community, so anything that we can do to help with that.
Thank you. Next is Dr. Bethany Lewis.
Thank you for having us speak today. This is actually my class. Here's a psych intervention from the Chemical Dependency and Addiction Study Program. So we have a particular interest in looking at drug use on college campuses. They have gotten a lot of good information that is being passed around. What I wanted to pass around was something that was presented to members of Congress in June of 2015 that looks at the need for Narcan to be available to college students, college police, and within residence halls. So it's within and visible to college students in the event of an overdose. An overdose, if you're lucky, you have 4 minutes. So if someone overdosed right now, I'd have to go all the way down to health services, run the boxes there, and make it back and administer it. You might not have enough time. There's no high that can be achieved through Narcan. So there's no fear that someone will break a box if you do have it in each hall. There's no benefit to taking this drug other than if you're overdosing. You do not need to use an injection like an EpiPen. There are nasal sprays that, again, deter people from thinking that they're going to have any enjoyment from taking this drug unless it's necessary. I did want to pass this out because I think it's really important that we understand. I passed out the other purple one. You can see the number of opioid painkiller prescription deaths has just risen every single year, and now with the heroin overdose, we're seeing it again. I mean, we are having 100 people a day overdose. We have 76 people a day die from opiate pain overdose and heroin overdose. We could prevent that. If we think it's not available on this college campus, well, Jake is a good example of that. It's available to our students. So thank you for having us speak. I will pass this around for your review later on. I don't want to take more than a couple of minutes.
Thank you. Next on the list is Erin Blackman.
Hi, thank you for having me. I just wanted to say, as a CNS major, this is something that's important to me, and I would like to support my campus and knowing that they support us. And I just want to thank you, and just reiterate that ages 19 to 25, which is the age range of college students, is the age range of the most popular drug use. And I think it's important that Narcan be available to save life. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Alexandra Carter.
Hi. So I just want to touch upon that. I think part of the reason that maybe we don't want Narcan on the campus is because we think it's not a problem, or we don't acknowledge that some of our students might have a drug problem. But you can, I speak from experience when I say that you can live with somebody for a long time and have no idea that they have a drug problem. So we could have a serious drug problem on this campus and not see it. So I think it's just best to have the professionals in place.
Thank you. Anyone else here for open forum? Anyone? Yes, speak.
Hi, I'm Charlie Martin. I'm a CNAS student as well. When I heard about this, I thought about a friend of mine. A friend of mine owns 4 sober houses in the state of Rhode Island, and he was very hesitant to put Narcan in any of his houses because they're sober houses that really shouldn't be needed until he lost a resident because there was not any Narcan available. As many of the people said, you can't tell just by looking at someone whether or not they might be using, and 4 minutes is not a very long time I think it's well worth the effort to put Narcan in the dorms and train the RAs. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else here for open forum?
Hi, my name is Elsa Cohen. I'm also a student in the CDAS program here at Rhode Island College. And I'd like to just mention that you can be anywhere on the street at any given time and someone may offer you heroin. As a person who's experienced this myself, I know that even though we believe that our community could be safe, there are still people out there who want to push this drug to other people. And because there's not a widespread access of knowledge to what drugs can do to teens and people who are most susceptible to using, we honestly just need to make sure that the knowledge is out there and that we can provide the best education possible and treat the problem if it occurs. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here for open forum? Anyone here for open forum? Yes, you can speak.
My name is Brady and I'm an health and phys ed major, and I'm a big advocate for recovery because honestly, like, addiction doesn't discriminate. It can happen at like absolutely anybody. And I know Narcan sounds scary, but it really can save lives. I had a friend whose life was saved. She was saved from Narcan. She's back in school now. So it truly can happen to anyone. And I know for myself being impacted by addiction, we'd like to try to get a recovery group on campus. And once that happens, we will need your support to kind of spread the word, because again, there's students on campus that are in recovery from addiction or may have lost a family member or a friend, especially now with the epidemic as it is. So thank you for listening to us.
Thank you. Is there anyone here for open forum? Anyone here for open forum? Anyone here for open forum? Hearing none, I now declare the open forum closed. And we now move on to item 5, officers' announcements. President Robert Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hi guys, I hope everyone knows we want this spring break. I'd like to thank the folks who came in and spoke open forum about Narcan, which I can't pronounce out right. I know we have a resolution talking about it later tonight, so we'll see a discussion of that. But a couple things. Now that we're back from spring break, there's about maybe 6 weeks really left in the school year. It seems like 6 weeks can seem like a lot, but it's really not a lot. Someone who's graduating, I can't wait. But with that, with spring break sort of comes looking forward to next year, and initial filing period is starting on the 21st. What that is if you want to get on Parliament ahead of time, if you want to run for office on the e-board, so president or speaker, or any of the other jobs that Maria, Noah, Lori, Shane, and Tom do, you have to go through the election filing period process. It's kind of like it's the regular petition process. You just do it ahead of time, so you don't have to do it next academic year, and you can run for office. I hope to see that everyone take out a petition who's sitting around the table and not graduating like Ken and myself, and come back for next year. At least that's my hope. Please do it. But no, seriously, if you want to come back this year, it's a great thing. I hope you guys had a great time this year, and the process starts on the 21st. So if you really want to keep your commuter representation spot, or your at large, or your constituency, take them out soon because the same rules apply. 2 other things I have tonight. We had an open forum for president today. I saw Representative Windrow there supporting the student body. Mr. Hovia was also there. I'd like to give a shout out to her. I went to the one they had 2 weeks ago, as did Representative Hurd. It was just me, Representative Hurd, and one other student. I think we had a wonderfully productive discussion. I think I made some things the search committee for the new president think about that they hadn't thought about. I know for the little bit I was there at the open forum today, they asked some great questions. That's really all I have about it. Just keep your eyes and ears open about what's going on with the new president, guys, because I'm graduating, but you guys will be dealing with this for the next couple of years. And I know others in this room have said it, but the next year, Rick, is probably going to be one of the most important we've had in the past decade of where the college is going in the next 10 to 20 years. My last announcement is, so last semester we funded the library hours, and I know I gave a brief rundown from my notes last meeting about what the exact stats were with how productive library hours were. Instead of doing it 24 hours for 2 weeks around final season, so to speak, we funded it for the back half of the semester for extended hours. For the back half of the semester until finals, 10 p.m. to midnight, and then I believe once finals started rolling around, we extended from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. So for the whole month of October, starting in October, the whole month of total, a total of 80 students used the library after 10 p.m. between the hours of 10 and midnight. In November, that number jumps up to 167. And then finally, the 3 weeks for exams, when the library was open from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., 1,139 students used the library's extended hours. I know Representative Centuri is laughing, but for those of us who have fought for that for a couple of years now, this is kind of depressing. The number one complaint we always get is that the library isn't open enough. I have to go to another library. SCG advertised it, the library advertised it, Donovan Dining Center advertised it. So it's kind of disheartening to see students not really use it except outside exam period. So I know going forward, the library said instead of having the library hours extended for most of the semester now, they're just going to keep it open, I think, 10 to 2 a.m. during the finals period. With that, that is all I have to say about my announcements, Mr. Speaker, and thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Maria Spina.
Hi guys, I hope you all had a wonderful spring break. I know I did. Rob actually took over one announcement I want to say. It was the silent period on Monday. But the other announcement I have is that the scholarship applications are still able to be picked up. You have until Friday at 2 to pick them up, and then they're due March 30th at 5 p.m. to hand them back in. And then one minor detail is that because of the filing period coming up, naturally my elections committee is really going to be putting more work involved in getting all the petitions validated. So there are slots open in all my committee to join. So if you are interested in helping out, please feel free to see me and ask what that entitles, and let one of us know that you're interested in joining. Other than that, I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you. Secretary Laurie Spina.
Hi everyone. So next roundtables next Wednesday at 12:30 during free period, right in this room. Letters were put in your mailboxes and an email was sent out. Nomination packets are due back on Friday, and the voting package should be out for Monday. So look out for those and make sure you turn them in, so we have a nice pool of nominations to put on the ballot for you guys. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Treasurer Noah Cross.
Hi everybody. As an update, if you are a member of an organization that has not turned in their satisfied or unsatisfied letter, please do that like right now. They're due back. As you guys know, the next time we meet, I believe, is satisfied, which is March 30th, and then unsatisfieds are April 6th. We'll get a little bit more into how those run later on. The Finance Commission will be here as well, sitting at these tables to help advocate for what they decided to do with the budgeting process. So if you are a member of an organization, please talk to your board and make sure that they have turned in their letter, and if not, then they should do it right now. Other than that, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. My announcements, first off, welcome back to Parliament. I just have a few leaves. We'll start with a leave from Dr. Kane. Dear Mr. Speaker, I'm requesting a leave from Parliament meeting due to being away for a conference in Indianapolis. I expect my return to Providence from the conference before the meeting. I hope to get home and spend some catch-up time with my family. Dr. Kane. See a motion from Representative Santuri, second from President Smith. Any discussion? Hearing none, we now proceed to a vote. All those in favor of approving the leave, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions? And the leave passes. Next leave, we are going to approve a retroactive leave for Mr. Mark Paolucci for the March 2nd Parliament meeting. I have a motion from President Smith and a second from Representative Block. And any discussion on the leave? Hearing none, we now proceed to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions? And the leave passes. We also have, actually, both do next. A leave for tonight. He is out due to medical issues. Is there a motion? Motion from President Smith, second from Representative Block. Any discussion on the leave? Hearing none, we now proceed to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, and the leave is approved. And finally, I have a leave from Dr. Brophy Bierman. Dear Speaker Weimer, I will not be able to attend the Parliament meeting on Wednesday, March 16th, due to family obligations. Michelle Brophy Bierman. A motion from Treasurer Constant, second from Mr. Santeri. Any discussion? Hearing none, we're going to proceed to a vote. All those in favor of approving the leave, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, and the leave is approved. And I have no further announcements. Next is Deputy Speaker Shane Crowan.
Hey, I'll be quick. Conditions and services met the Wednesday before spring break started. We have split up into small teams and we are putting our plans into action. We have the minutes to come so you guys can find out more about that. Like I said last time, the food service advisory meeting is going to be on March 24th in the Faculty South, I believe. I won't be able to attend due to work scheduling, but I hope people can go because a lot of the complaints I hear on campus are about Donovan. It can be very insightful. You can find out what their plans are, what their restrictions are, barriers, such and such. Something to make it easier for me. I know sometimes it can be easier to kind of fiddle when you're just sitting there for so long, especially with how long the meetings have been going the past couple of weeks, but when I see people reaching for their cards and doing this or just kind of standing around, it makes me think that you have something to say, and I value what you all have to say. So I ask that you be a little careful about whether or not you pick your cards up. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Before we proceed, just a procedural reminder, perhaps if we all turn our cards, especially these two sides, so they're facing Deputy Speaker.
Thank you.
I think we know everyone's names here by now. But. All right, we now proceed to item 6, reports. Oh, what? We didn't have anything. I'm sorry, I thought I heard someone speak out of order. Reports A, Finance Commission meeting minutes of March 2nd, 2016. Treasurer Costin.
These minutes were approved by my commission and I ask that they be accepted with unanimous consent.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the minutes are approved with unanimous consent.
All right, we now move on to item 6B, RIC Council meeting minutes of March 4th. Speaker Lee.
Again, I was the representative at the RIC Council meeting. It was a brief meeting. You can read more about the meeting in my report, but there weren't really a lot of items that pertained to the students. There was a lot of interesting bylaws changes to the RIC Council bylaws. A couple were approved. The notable one, in my opinion, was one that was not approved, and that was to make not all, but most of the RIC Council committees chaired by a faculty member, as in their bylaws, that it would have to be chaired by a faculty member. And that did not pass. Council is mostly faculty anyway. Its purpose, it's kind of the SCG of the faculty to an extent. There's also staff representatives on council, administration representatives, the president always is at council, and student representatives such as myself and President Smith. So it was interesting to see my second council meeting, and just a lot of procedural items happened. Aside from that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah, consent.
No, there was some discussion I saw.
Second.
Second by Treasurer Carson. And we move to discussion.
I was just,
Santeri.
thank you, Deputy Speaker Crowley. I was just curious how much it failed by the failed resolution or you don't have to give me exact number, was it like a close vote or?
It was a hand vote. I'm not sure the exact number off the top of my head. Again, these aren't minutes, so I don't keep track of that. The minutes will be out, that they're official minutes, but it was, I can say, a majority that it failed by. That was a deep majority. And there wasn't a lot of discussion in favor of approving that particular bylaws change to the RIC Council bylaws.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Representative Santeri. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions? The minutes are passed. We're going to do that.
Alrighty, now we move on to new business, I believe. Yes. The updated agenda. Revisions to the cabinet policy. Vice President Sebastian.
Hi guys, so I finally got around to finishing the cabinet policy. The biggest issues with the editing was the numbering was off. For some reason there were some articles such as 2.3.6 in the original article and it was completely gone, so I had to reorder everything. In 3.1.1, I just had to change communications director to public relations director. A lot of it was just grammar, like there was no commas in some areas, or things had to be in italics. Really crazy. But I would like to make a friendly amendment first, though, to Article 3.4.10. There is no, currently at this time, there's no student representatives on the Student Union Advisory Board, so it makes no sense to even have that particular number, so I want to scratch that out completely, and that makes the current 3.4.11 to a new 3.4.10. And with that change, I make a motion to approve the policy.
It's just some procedural, is there a second to approve besides the motion? The second from Chairman Carlson. Is there any objection to the friendly amendment? Hearing none, the amendment is approved as friendly. Further discussion on approving the policy? Hearing none, we now proceed to a vote. All those in favor of approving the election policy as amended, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Abstentions, and the policy is approved. Now move on to item B, proposed change. It was cabinet policy we were on, right? Yeah. Mobile police. Proposed change to the elections policy. Maria Sakata.
Hello again. No one realized this at all about the electoral policy until we actually went in to get ready for the initial filing period. But on the original copy of Article 13.2.3, when we were referring to certain parts of procedure, the numbering was off. So because we changed the numbering from going from the original copy to the new updated copy, we had to reformat the numbering. It's nothing else was changed, just that renumbering. So I asked for approval. Motion to approve these changes, please.
Motion by Vice President Pasnik, second by Treasurer Costa. Discussion. Hearing none, we now proceed to a vote on the proposed change to the elections policy. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Abstentions, and the policy is approved. Next is item 7C, Feminine Products Resolution. President Smith and Secretary Sabita. Floor is yours. President Smith.
Hi guys, what you have before you is a feminine products resolution. This is something me and Lori actually worked on in the fall, and I'm not sure why we never brought it to the body. What I had Lori do, because obviously I cannot, is I had her go into every bathroom on campus, every woman's room on campus, and count whether or not there was A dispensary for essentially tampons, and B, a way to dispose of said tampons. What's always been a common complaint in my years here at Brick is that the college does not really stock publicly in the bathrooms any kind of feminine products that many other colleges do, and that many other times various individuals need them, trying to figure out how to say this in the most polite way possible. So essentially, what we put together is a resolution that says the college, that we advocate that the college should start putting feminine products in these bathrooms and dispensaries for the products in the bathrooms. It's a lot for a guy to say, I'm sorry.
Right. Next on the list, and again, this is on the table because the motion and the second were by President Smith and Secretary Sapita. Just a procedural reminder, when a resolution has a co-sponsor, that co-sponsor is the second. Secretary Sapita.
So to make it easier for Rob, I went around to every bathroom. There were tampon dispensers, no tampons, and something that's written in the resolution is 67% of the college campus is women. And personal experiences, there was Copley Mary was here. One Friday I was here, I don't have class on Friday, so if I come to campus, I'm either working upstairs or in a meeting for training, and my grade was 4 days early. What do? I was not expecting this. I go to the Women's Center. The Women's Center is closed because it's run by a graduate student, not the college. Go over to the Unity Center. I got lucky one time. They had something. This time they didn't. So what did I have to do? I almost had to go home to go get a tampon, to then come back to the college campus. But Mary saved my life, so it was okay. But what I'm saying is I shouldn't have to go all the way back home when I'm trying to be productive here on campus. Maybe I had to study. Maybe I had to go to class. Like, I shouldn't have to go back home to then come back to campus for something that's just an essential. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Yes, Mr. Long.
The
cost of these machines? How is it gonna be funded? Has the cost been looked into, how expensive it was gonna be? And also, what's to stop one person from going in and just taking all of them and saying, oh, that way I don't have to go and, this is what I can use, I don't have to go buy them myself. And, I agree that it's an important thing, I think it should be something on campus, but the cost of having to replace them constantly, and on top of that, the cost of the machines in general, would be something I'd like to be discussed.
Thank you. Next on the list is treasurer cost.
I'm obviously not the right person to answer that question, but in my high school, we had a gender neutral bathroom, and there's a tampon dispenser in there, but they cost like 50 cents. So it helped to offset the cost of filling said dispenser. I don't know if Laura, you can answer if they're like a vending machine kind of tampon dispenser, like a regular. So they should put change in it, so that could help offset the cost.
Thank you, Secretary Sapita.
This is gonna be really like, I guess, feminist of me, but if you needed a condom, you could go to health services, grab a condom, and they're not charging you for it. And you can choose not to have sex, but I can't decide when I do my period.
Thank you. Representative Hurd.
I see in the resolution it says, majority of female bathrooms across campus have disposable containers. Is that different than a trash can? I don't know. Say that again. Feminine product disposal containers. What does that mean?
Any woman want to answer that? I'm not sure. Representative Liberty, I think that's a point of information.
So yeah, because you don't want to leave a restroom and like go to a trash with your tampon, so they have inside the stalls a little separate container, and also people who are disposing of garbage don't want to be touching blood because, well, like, you know, they don't want to be touching really anything, but it's even more contagious to be touching like things that are blood. So they have little containers inside the stalls themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Burr. Next on the list is Alumni Representative Centurion.
I have nothing to add.
Treasurer Colston.
I just have a question / concern about one of the lines in the resolution of whereas the president of Rhode Island College is female, as far as we're aware, it's only female for another like 2 months. So
when I wrote this, she hadn't resigned.
So should we maybe add the word current president of Rhode Island College is female? Or maybe just scratch the line in general?
Are you making a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Like I was expecting her.
I'm gonna say I'd like to make a friendly amendment to get rid of that line in general, because even if the next one is female, I doesn't matter.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the amendment is approved as friendly. Further discussion? Hearing none, we now proceed to a vote. All those in favor of approving the feminine products resolution as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, and the resolution passes. We now move on to new business D. Naloxone knock-on certification training for resident advisors. Representative Rosario.
So this is going to be a little repetitive, but I'm going to try my hardest and that's to be. So for those of you that don't know, naloxone is a relatively new drug that we are using almost like an EpiPen to stop opioid overdose. So the way it works from a biological standpoint is the medicine blocks the opioid receptors, and in doing so, the person wakes up. So Narcan is only given when the person is unresponsive and not breathing. At that point, you only have 4 minutes before brain damage starts to occur. And the reason why we're putting forth this resolution is that if we have to walk all the way to health services, I could lose a client. By the time I get over there and get back, that client could be facing permanent brain damage, if not death. And so I propose this resolution in a way to promote a proactive stance on the campus. We want to believe that drugs aren't a problem within college students, and I understand that it's a touchy subject, but it's here, and I think that we should address it as a body.
Thank you. We have a motion by Representative Rosario, it's a second by Secretary Sapita. Further discussion on the resolution. Just keep cards hard, and we'll go down the list, starting with Vice President Pasnick. Vice President Pasnick, let me speak for him.
I do agree with the majority of what you're saying. The only thing is I feel like it's instead of having the resident assistants do it, I believe it should be the hall directors, because I feel like for the RAs to do it, it's putting a lot of pressure on them. I mean, they're students themselves, so I feel like it's putting a lot of pressure on them. And there's also the fact that if you make it an option for the RAs to do this, because you're saying you're not making it a mandatory requirement for them to do. I mean, say something horrific happens and an overdose does occur, and the RA on standby is not certified to do this. If you're gonna make it be the RAs, then you should make it mandatory so we all do this. But I think it's better for all directors to do it instead of RAs. That's just my personal opinion.
Thank you, Representative Sahani.
I would like to say that I also identify with the need to find some way to approach a life-saving mechanic for overdosing and such. It is my understanding, and please correct me on this if I'm wrong, that naloxone upon administration would then give the individual opioid withdrawal. And one of the symptoms of such is nausea and sweating, but also agitation. Okay, so as an RA, I could explain to you that we have been told through RA training and in many cases over the course of the year that we will encounter residents who are experiencing agitation, also guests, and upon scenarios where that occurs, we have been advised and told that we should try our best to remove ourselves from scenarios such like that, for it puts us in that uncomfortable and potentially harmful case. What I would say is something similar to what was said earlier, that perhaps somebody else, as opposed to an RA, may be looked at as a person who administers such procedure.
Point of information?
Yes, that's your point.
So when we deliver Narcan, we only deliver 1 cc. And in delivering that 1 cc, the person's only sluggish when they respond. The point is to get them to respond so that they breathe. And that's why we also do the intramuscular injection in the thigh, because it would take them longer to then get agitated. Rather than an arm injection, because you're injecting the arm, that point would lead to the person swinging into your face.
Well, should I close again?
Yes, you're still speaking.
Okay, thank you. Well then, that's excellent in my opinion, but I would also like to know maybe if that's possible later on that there is precedence of other colleges having RAs be trained in this case, and if so, then what procedure is there if there is, by some case, an agitated individual?
Thank you, Representative Locke.
Well, it's already been stated again, but I said that I have stuff written down. I said that RAs at the end of the day are students, and I think on top of having the responsibilities of a full-time student and the full-time responsibilities of being an RA, that they're, in a sense, in that situation, they would be, in a sense, responsible for that person's life. So if they didn't get to them in time, or that student should unfortunately die from this overdose, and the RAs that are trying to save them, how do they respond to the situation? How would they deal with like the effects of, oh, I tried to save this person's life and they died in front of me? So again, I think that the hall director would be a better choice for the person who's responsible for administering it, because at the end of the day, the hall director is who the RAs report to, so they are the one who they do oversee the RAs and the students in the individual dorms. And I think that if you added the Narcan training to be, I'm not sure if it was supposed to be mandatory for all RAs, but I think if you added it mandatory, I think that there'd be a decrease in people wanting to become an RA, because they wouldn't necessarily want to be in that situation. They wouldn't want to have to be able to make that call or be in a situation of not being able to save a person, no matter how much they wanted to.
Thank you, Mr. Locke. Secretary Saputo.
One of the things I'd like to mention is, just like Representative Locke said, if they're in a situation where they don't get back in time, the same thing could happen if someone's overdosing anywhere and they're like, well, I couldn't do anything at all. So that's something to consider too. Either way, there's always going to be a negative repercussion on the person. Another thing is, it is a good idea to only have the hall directors have the training, but also I don't know if hall directors are available at all times in the halls. And another thing is, I wanted to make a friendly amendment to the third whereas. It says, whereas campus police may or not be able to reach students. It should say, whereas campus police may or may not be able to reach students in the residence halls.
objection to the friendly amendment? Hearing none, it's approved as friendly.
Point of information.
Yes.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, RAs in the room. I believe a hall director is on call every night and is required to be on campus. So once the RA is on call, a hall director is also on call.
Yes.
So one of the ones in one of the buildings is available every night. And for example, when they have something that requires campus police, like they have to search a room for marijuana or something, the hall director is also notified. If a fire alarm goes off, the hall director shows up. So there is one on call every night.
Thank you. Next on the list is Treasurer Costa.
Everything I kind of wanted to say has been said a lot already, but one point I would also like to make is, I don't know if I'm the only person who thinks this way, but if I were to stumble on, like say I walked into one of the common bathrooms in one of the residence halls and I see someone who could possibly have a drug overdose, my first gut reaction is not to call the RA, it's to call 911. So then by that time, the 4-minute period is also running very low. So I think the necessity of having the RAs do the training, I personally, if I was selected to be an RA, would not want to be put in that situation. I feel like the hall directors who are more, not to say that we aren't adults, but are more adulty adults, are more capable of handling a situation such as that. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Speaker Crowell.
Okay, so this is a very touchy subject for a lot of people. I have a lot of thoughts written down. I don't know what the training period is for Narcan. I don't know if there's a point of information about how long it takes. If you want to jump in, okay?
Point of information?
Yes.
It's a peer training program that lasts an hour.
An hour, okay. So RAs through the summer go through a week-and-a-half training where basically from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, we are going through sessions, getting the building ready for the current year. And that is a week-and-a-half straight. We go through a lot of things that, we basically cover anything that could happen. So right now, under this, if I came across someone that was under an overdose or going through the symptoms of an overdose, my reaction is 911, campus police, hall director, and campus police first because they can get to the scene first. And I'm not sure if campus police, another point of information maybe, can carry Narcan on our campus?
Yes,
They're in the process of getting the training to carry Narcan in their cars. As of right now, they do not have it.
Okay. So I think that is something that we should definitely push for as maybe a first step. Okay, as an RA, I don't know how a lot of the staff would feel being the ones responsible administering it. The people that administer it now are trained EMTs, they're police officers, and when they do administer it, they have 2 or 3 other people that are with them that are able to calm down the person once they come to. They are able to help administer it, and they have medical background and knowledge. This is something that I personally do not have. I'm CPR and first aid trained, so I would always want to naturally help somebody, but I don't know if I can help somebody with this. And obviously I have to go through the training and things like that. Last point is the hall director could take 5 to 10 minutes to get to the building, depending on what they're doing too. So it's another thing where you give the hall director the power to do it or the permission to do it. That can take just as long, and they say 4 minutes, the person may slip away or oxygen's cut off to the brain or whatever it is. The hall director may not be the best route either, but I think getting campus police to have it is probably the best push that we should do as of right now. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative Rosario.
I have a lot to do with you guys. First thing I want to say is, in no way can we force someone to partake in Narcan training. It's a personal choice. I myself am certified. I've been through the training myself. These trainings are done by people who have gone through the training or even gone through an overdose themselves that are teaching people how to administer Narcan. It's completely peer-to-peer related. So just a little bit of a procedure. So what happens is, if you see a person experiencing an opioid overdose, say for example my constituent here was experiencing an overdose, I would check first to see if he's breathing, and see if he's responsive by doing a sternum rub. Now for those of you that have ever had it done, it hurts if you rub a little on your sternum. If they then don't respond, then you would start compressions, just like you would CPR. After, I believe, 2 minutes of CPR, you would then administer the 1 cc of Narcan and continue compressions, and you can repeat the cycle depending on how much Narcan you have. A regular person will carry up to 4 cc's of Narcan. I actually keep it in my backpack. It's just like an EpiPen, you stick it right in the thigh. And in terms of the hall directors, I actually spoke to some hall directors about the RAs getting certified, and they had said that in terms of a medical emergency, because I know that Secretary Cepeda had brought up the problem about having RAs enter a room, if a student were to report that an opioid overdose was taking place, the RA then has precedence to enter the room because it's a medical emergency. And because of the Good Samaritan law, if you were to attend to a person, or forbid, not get there in time, you cannot be held, you cannot be penalized, because that's the Good Samaritan law. You were trying to help someone, so there's no way that you can be held responsible to that. And that law has now been passed so that parolees, people on parole, will also be held, will not be held liable.
Thank you, Representative Hurd.
I would like to make first a point of information. I'm wondering whether RAs have training in CPR or defibrillator use.
No.
I know it's training. Okay. I think that if we're gonna go with one, we should definitely push for all forms of legislative improvement. I think if this passes, we should go for more, such as defibrillator use or CPR. I think that if teenagers in early 20s can serve as lifeguards, if your position can be literally lifeguard, you should be able to do this. That's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. President Smith.
Yeah, well, a lot of what people said is what I was gonna say. But, correct me if I'm wrong, but the current protocol is for basically to contact health services and they come and administer Narcan. Okay. Where's the incentive to tell your RA that someone's overdosed in your dorm?
They might die.
I mean, yeah, but like, if you're panicking, you're not really thinking. I don't know. I'm going through the thoughts here because most people took my thoughts. There's been a lot of talk about Good Samaritan law in the building, and because Dr. Kane and Mark are not here, I guess I'll play the other side of the coin right now. Will the Good Samaritan law end up applying to the college as well? Oh, will it? Oh, never mind then.
All right, thank you, Secretary Cepeda.
Agreeing with Representative Hurd that I think it's a lot of the stigma surrounding addiction that makes people uneasy about whether or not they should administer Narcan. But to me, there is no difference between giving someone CPR and administering Narcan because you're on the same playing field with that.
Narcan is natural.
Thank you.
So.
Representative Santuri.
Thank you, Speaker Lima. Just two major points. One on the Representative Pizarro's help on behalf of answer my question. My first one is, if Representative Pizarro's previous comments were correct, and it's a personal choice whether or not to receive that training, perhaps, at the end of the day, it might make more people more comfortable in the room with the legislation if you change in the be if there was also a line that you say, I'm not going to make fun of the amendment, just putting this out there for public consumption, that resident assistants should be encouraged to receive training in recognizing the symptom. Because that way you maintain the fact that, because right now, because I'm sure some of you, when you first read this, thought maybe you'd be forced to have training, be forced to administer. But as Representative Pizarro said, people have a choice of whether to go to the training and do that. I think this is personally a great piece of legislation. I've talked in previous meetings about trying to find stuff you're passionate about, stuff you want to do. And it's clear that Representative Pizarro has done a lot of research on this issue because he's able to, answer any questions anyone has. Matt, this is perhaps one question, if you can just throw in a point of information or not, is what is the procedure currently at URI, for example?
I don't have that information.
Because I think one thing that also might make this conversation easier for people is just a point of interest is, if there ends up being a lot of division about it, is finding out what other schools do. And at least one's common size to Rick. Do they have RAs? Do they have hall directors? Do they have a particular person on staff, like, for example, a particular RA or two on staff who's assigned and who and volunteers to take hold in case any calls happen? I mean, luckily here at Rhode Island College, we have the resident halls are relatively close to each other. I think that it's good to look at what, unfortunately outside of URI, there's nothing comparable. Maybe do JWU, you know, what's other comparable states, schools in the state, and might say, hey, what do you do? You know, I think definitely campus police should, at the very least, the first step. I'm very surprised that campus police already don't have it. I'm assuming because it's a really new thing, they don't have yet. I do also agree with the previous point made that if you just, I think call directors should also be taught, but I think that if the time allotted to them getting there and administering it, unless they have it on them already, I think it might be too late to make a meaningful difference. It may or may not, you know, it depends on the situation. I think the big thing, and when Representative Desire can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the big intent behind this bill is the fact that you only have such a limited amount of time, and you need someone responsible enough to administer this, and unfortunately, for better or worse, depending on your point of view, that's the RA. Because you don't want to just leave it in the hallway for anyone to go take it, because then that might cause an issue, especially for security concerns. But I think that those are my two major things, though, is bats, change language should be encouraged if it is a personal choice, that way people feel more comfortable with it. And two, you know, I don't know if you plan on trying to pass it tonight or what's gonna happen with you guys, but I think if you choose to table, I think one thing to look at is definitely looking at what other schools do. And that way, when you come back next meeting, you can say, well, this is what other schools do, and this is kind of what we should do because it works there. Or what doesn't work there, you know, can find out what, you know, maybe another school just has campus police and doesn't work there, so maybe we shouldn't just have campus police. So that's all I have to say, Mr. Speaker. So I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative DeWitt.
So I guess I had a question. Resident Hall, I guess, assistants, they don't receive training for CPR, first aid, EpiPen.
EpiPen, yes.
You do receive?
EpiPen, yes, but not CPR.
Okay, so how about first aid?
No.
Okay. So this is very similar to EpiPen administration. And I believe the laws with EpiPens and with CPR, if you call 911 and they ask you if you know CPR, you say yes, there's no obligation for you to administer it. So even if a residence hall advisor, a resident assistant was to call 911, they said you know how to administer the drug, they still could use their judgment and not administer it or feel comfortable not administer it. I believe those are the laws. That's the last time I took CPR certification. But the fact that there's no certification for first aid is somewhat problematic. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Representative Holman.
I think before this certification went through, I feel like CPR would be important to have first. It's a very general important thing to have. I think for this one, I don't know, I would want to see what the residence hall staff thinks, like what's their opinion, and because not that you can force someone, but I think it's something that really needs to be looked into, like what it was said before, like what does URI do and what do other schools do?
Point of information.
Yes, that's your point.
During the training, we do have, when they teach you how to do compressions, they go through the CPR steps for compressions, both breathing and compressions. However, breathing is not mandated anymore. That's kind of been strictly for CPR as well. So you do get CPR training while doing the NARCAN training. You just don't get the certification for CPR training.
The floor is still yours. All right, next on the list is Deputy Speaker Crellin is next.
Okay, do they go over the difference between a drug overdose and alcohol poisoning and what Narcan can do with alcohol being a more pertinent drug on campus?
Yes.
So you asked a few questions. I'm going to try to answer them all. If I don't, just let me know. Sure. But so you are taught the science to recognize an opioid overdose. Narcan will only work on opioid receptors, which means that if you have any other drugs in your system or no opiates in your system, the drug does not have any physiological effect on the body or any sort of detriment to the body. In terms of being able to identify, there is sort of like an examination at the end of the training that will then test your knowledge on how to identify, is the person gray and blue on the fingertips, are they non-responsive, are they not breathing, have they lost, the color around the eyes, all these different symptoms that you would look for an opioid overdose. Obviously, you're gonna have to move quickly because you only have that 4-minute window, but you are taught how to identify relatively quickly whether or not the person is going through an opioid overdose.
And my next bit of confusion, I guess, is the person that's teaching, you said, is, are they a health professional? Is this organization that's going through the teachings, are they recognized by, like the CPR trainings are recognized by the American Heart Association or something like that?
Yes. So it's usually done via Department of Health or even sometimes Department of Justice, because there's a whole Department of Corrections movement, people that are leaving jail because their tolerance is lower, so they're more at risk for opioid overdose, so they teach each other, and they teach the people that are leaving the corrections facility how to administer and how to identify. So yes, it's usually done at a federal level, and then people get trained to teach. One of the people in Open Forum here today is actually certified to teach, and we've also got certified together. So,
can you repeat the certification? What the certification is through? What agency?
Usually Department of Health.
Okay.
However, specific government organizations or private agencies are allowed to certify people in Narcan, depending on what their area of expertise is.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next on the list is Treasurer Cost.
This is a very touchy subject because nobody wants to say we don't want this because this is something that greatly helps students. No one wants to say that we don't want this to happen. We don't want to actually put students at risk by not having this on campus. But because it's so touchy, I feel like we need more time to think about it and do research on it, because we don't even know how many drug overdoses have happened on Red Campus in the past 5 years, how many from opioids or what have you. So I feel like we'd like, or at least I would like a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like finite details that explains what exactly the certification process is, what other schools do if they have this. Schools that don't have this, do they also have a problem? Do we currently have a problem here at Rick? Like, are there drug overdoses happening in the resident side of campus that we don't know about? As a resident student, I personally have not heard of any this year. I don't know if the RAs can attest to that. So I would like to make a motion to table this to the next meeting based on further research being presented.
A motion has been made. Is there a second table? Second by Representative Locke. All those in favor of tabling, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
I believe the ayes have it, and the resolution is tabled to our next meeting. Now move to updates and remarks. We only have one tonight, alumni update, Mr. Robert Centauri Jr.
Thank you, Speaker Lynn. Wow, just cut the line towards me. So, hey everyone, hope everything's been well since I've last seen each of you. Hope your spring breaks were great. Hope you, I don't know if you guys have taken midterms yet, probably have, but hope you did well on them. A couple things I just made notes of tonight, just want to share. One, I was disappointed to hear about the library hour usage. I was hoping it was going to be a lot higher. I remember advocating for this for my last 2 years at Rick, so that sometimes I guess the wheel doesn't need to be changed at all. So, but maybe, at least we can say that we tried and we offered the alternative to students, and clearly students prefer the alternative finally. So, it's what it is. Secondly, I think it was really great to see the amount of people that performed tonight. I think I saw more people perform tonight than my entire time in this body combined. So I think that was really cool to see. I think there's like 9 people. I was like, and it was actually, it was credit to Speaker Lehman too, because it was very organized. Everyone was, just going in the line and talking. And I've seen some open forums that weren't so organized and not so nice. So that was really good to see. Also, too, again, I said this in my thing earlier, but credit again to Representative Rosario for taking on some proactive legislation and bringing something to the body that I think is the kind of things this body should be discussing. It's, again, as Treasurer Cost said, it is a touchy subject. These are the kind of subjects that really is what's supposed to make us student leaders, because these are the kind of topics that have a momentous impact on students on this campus. And I think that everyone brought up a lot of good points tonight. I think Representative Rosario had, answers to pretty much whatever anyone tossed at him tonight, which I thought was great. Especially since, I've seen other people come with legislation that passed before, and they're like, well, I didn't really know this answer, I don't know that. But he pretty much was able to answer, state law like that. So I thought that was really good. Two other things I had in mind. One is elections are coming up soon, and I know some of these people are leaving, maybe, or at least one of them should hopefully be leaving, i.e. the one who's graduating. If he doesn't, I'll be very disappointed. But no, he'll be graduating. So obviously there'll be at least one vacancy on the SGG board next year. So, but in all seriousness, I encourage everyone to, if you are considering running, talk to the person who's currently in the position now. Whether they're running for that position themselves again is a very interesting subject. But I think that everyone should consider getting involved in general. I think. Quick show of hands. Who here has friends? Well, you can at least raise your hand. Who here has friends? Oh, that's wow. Okay, well, I think most of you at least have friends. That's good. So if all of you have friends, that means all of you have people who can join Parliament next year during open filing period. I brought a friend.
And you suck for it.
I did, but I brought a friend, and I think, but in all seriousness, the best thing you can do to get someone involved in student government, especially, I don't say lie and say, we do this and this, but I think the best thing you can do is say, because especially to the kind of friend, by the way, we all have those kind of friends who always complained about stuff on campus, and they always wanted to, say something about what's going on campus. And you want to encourage them to get, and you say, okay, put your money where your mouth is. Get involved in student government. But my point is, everyone here knows people who want to make a difference on campus. And I think one of the best ways to go is channel energy is by being in this room and talking about things like this. Especially this year. You guys have, I will say, talked about a lot of great things, especially this semester. And I think that as long as you guys going forward can build upon that, you'll have something even better next year. So that's all my announcements tonight, Mr. Speaker, but I yield the floor back, so thank you.
Thank you. Appointments, resignations, and vacancies. President Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For my appointment tonight, I'm appointing David Posman to the Committee on College Lectures. I'd like that be accepted with unanimous consent.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the appointment is made with unanimous consent.
I have one resignation. Jenna Higgins has to resign from the subcommittee due to scheduling conflicts. And I'm not sure if I should do this with resignations, but I also have an expulsion, both from Parliament and the position of Chief of Staff. Representative Roush had an excessive amount of unexcused leaves. I believe in our bylaws it says if you have, I think it's either 2 or more unexcused absences in Parliament. That means if you're not here for meeting guys and you don't hand in leave to speak in Lima, you get kicked off the body. So Representative Roush has been expelled from Parliament for excessive unexcused leaves, and as well as the position of Chief of Staff, because it's a requirement in the Chief of Staff that you have to be a member of Parliament. I ask that this be accepted with deep regret. Is that the right officer? How many minutes?
If you want it, you can.
Well, I like the resignation with deep regret and the expulsion with unanimous consent, yes.
I'll take them one at a time. The first is for the resignation with deep regret by unanimous consent. Any objection? Hearing none, the resignation is accepted with deep regret. And the second one is also it's just a resignation.
Well, he's expelled.
He's expulsion, so we don't need to proceed for him. It's a resignation.
No one's ever been expelled and followed by that.
It's not, it's by order of the speaker, it's done.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't just put it, it's a announcement.
It's something you have to announce.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
no, it's already.
With that, before I go on to the next item of the agenda, I'm not really going to hire another Chief of Staff. There's almost no point this late in the year, and I'll honestly consider we have about a month left. So I'm just going to leave the position open for now, and the next time we'll have a Chief of Staff will be next session. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Issues of Parliament members, please keep your cards high. There's a lot.
So tonight's discussion was really good. I've learned a lot. It's also intrigues me to learn more about it. It's something that I'm going to do, and I encourage you all to look more into it. I'm going to have conversations with people in Res Life and see their thoughts. I just want to learn more about it before I give a yes or no. So I'm glad Noah brought that up. And lastly, happy birthday, Ken. That's all I got.
Thank you, President Smith.
My first thing was also happy birthday, Ken. You beat me to it. Happy birthday, Ken. Everyone wished Ken a happy birthday at some point tonight. It's his birthday tonight. I'm sorry, what?
Can we sing?
No.
No sing.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming out. No singing.
I love you.
And the other thing is, I meant to read this during my announcements, but I sort of forgot. So as many of you know, Mark Pilucci is not here due to health reasons. I had many of you, many people in student life, many on this body, sign a giant banner we sent to him, and we got an email back from Mark finally. It reads, well, he sent it to Joan, so I'll just, hi Joan, I'm sending this email from my home. I'm doing much better every day, and with all things progressing as planned, I went back to the college on April 1. I can start PT this week, so I can see what I'm going to be able to do. Please thank all the students for their banner and their kind words and thoughts. Thanks to you, Scott and Mary, and I'll see you all soon. And then the actual notes of Mark. So Mark sent that to us. Thanks to you all for those who signed the banner. We really appreciated it. And let's keep moving our thoughts, guys, for a speedy recovery. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Treasurer Cost.
Hi guys, so I wanted to reiterate a little bit what I said earlier, and because it is such a touchy, sensitive subject, please do research on it. Jose, I would love to meet with you, and so I can learn more about this as well, and I'm sure you'd probably be more than willing to meet with anyone on the body. Other than that, on a little happier note, for the ballroom dance team, we're hosting a competition, which is April 10th, that runs in the Patuxent. If you can come by and spectate. Or we also have our student showcase for the ballroom team, where all students can come in on the team, perform in front of family, friends, and community and school members, and that's April 24th. If you're interested in attending that, we'd love to have you. We also have representatives from Brown URI and Roger Williams coming to dance in it too. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Sapir.
Did you hear
Also-
me run? Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Representative Winrow.
Thanks. So I went to the presidential open forum thing, and I stayed for most of the time. So I just wanted to say sort of like what happened there. So there was actually probably like 18 to 25 people who were like present, which I was surprised by that outcome because I thought it was gonna be less. And a lot of people just talked about how they wanted a president that was more inclusive, more round, and like accepting of like the diverse groups that we have on this campus. And also it seemed like the committee was going to have like the candidates for the president have an open forum too, so like there's still more chances for us to like have our input, which is great. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Rep. Block.
I went to the presidential committee as well, and I was disappointed by the lack of people that I saw. It was a decent amount, but with such an important topic, I would have expected a more impressive turnout by students, especially on something that impacts the students so strongly. As President Smith likes to say, we have the voice of the student body since 1974, and we should take advantage of opportunities like this. Nothing will get done, our voices won't be heard, our opinions can't be heard if we don't actively go out and voice our opinions and make ourselves heard, especially with something so important as the hiring of a new president and what we want to see in a new president. So I would encourage everyone to seriously take advantage of the next one and voice all the things we say here about what we want for a president, and take what we say to the people who are in charge of the search committee so they can actually hear what we are saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Herb.
I'd like to also talk about the Presidential Search Committee open forums. I was disappointed that the chair of the committee wasn't here this time. Maybe the next one. I encourage you all to come. Our voices don't stop in this room. They're outside as well. That's where it matters most. Have ideas about the president and have ideas about the search committee themselves. I asked a question today. I asked, how are we influencing your decisions? And I feel like that's a really important question to ask, to make sure that we're getting heard, make sure that we're getting understood, and they're not just saying, oh, I agree, yeah, we'll definitely look for that. I'd also like to talk about, I read in the Anchor yesterday about the Innovation Office He's quoted as saying, and the student's note came to me and talked about it. My door is open. I went as soon as I read that, and his door was not open. Yeah, I made an appointment with his assistant for Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. I'm told that he works from 7:30 a.m. to midnight. So maybe you night owls would like to meet with him and voice your opinions. That's another opportunity to be the voice of the people outside this room. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Rizzoto.
I have one complaint that I've had myself recently, and I've heard plenty of others, and I have a couple good things. So my complaint is printing money. I always run out of printing money, so I have a printer in my room. Well, this semester I've replaced 2 ink cartridges, and I ran out before spring break. And I'm a science major, but not a science major, science communications. But I can only imagine what science majors do and what nursing majors and English majors print. $12 is not enough, not nearly enough, especially when ink cartridges are so damn expensive. So I figured I'd voice that because I'm not sure who to go to about that or who to complain to. Happier note, April 13th, NISLA is having an autism awareness cookie decorating event. It's free during free period. There's going to be colored frosting and cookies that will come in finance for. Feel free to ask any questions about that later. And also this Friday, AST is having a Zoomathon. It's $10 for Habitat for Humanity. We're trying to do a build. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. in the ballroom. You can buy tickets from me or at the door. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have a great instructor who, if you know Vicky Alves, is literally a replica of her and full of energy and doesn't sit down. It should be a great event, and I hope to see you guys there.
Thank you. Representative Rosero.
Well, I just wanted to thank everyone. I thought the discussion was great. I love the fact that you all have questions. I'm really happy that we didn't just accept a resolution without asking questions, and I'd be really happy to answer those questions anytime. So please feel free to come to me if you have any questions.
Thank you, President Smith.
I forgot one more thing. Next Tuesday is the first night of WXAN's annual Rock Hunt. It's at doors open at 8 p.m. at the Spot Underground. I encourage you all to come out and support your local music scene and your local music businesses. We have a thriving, vibrant cultural community here in Providence, and come out and support a lot of the bands. I'm sure a lot of them are local students or local workers you've seen around Providence or Rhode Island. So come on out. It's a good time. It's $3 with your RIC ID, $5 if you get it at home. If you bring friends, you don't go to RIC. The bands that are playing are all the Call-Outs, Rap Ruckus, Hadan, and Chameleon Culture. So please all come down and support your local music scene. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Flock.
In response to Representative Fusoko, there are certain majors that do get unlimited printing. I know social work does get unlimited printing. Because they are expected, what? I didn't expect that response. Because they're expected to print more than average. So yeah, that's food for thought. Also, last Parliament meeting I brought up the wooden bench that was in the Weber Quad, and I would say not an hour or two later, I got an email from Dr. Kane sent to both myself and Teresa Brown, head of housing, asking her if she knew anything about it and to fix it. I haven't gotten a response from her, but it's also still there. So yeah.
Thank
That
you.
out there.
Any further issues with Parliament members? Hearing none, there's only one more motion in order. That is a motion to adjourn. Motion, Treasurer Cost, second. Vocalized it. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions? We are adjourned. Please stay seated and silent for roll call.
Robert Smith.
Here.
Maria Zapasnik. Here. Gloria Cepeda. Here. Noah Karsten.
Here.
Thomas Lima.
Here.
Shane Crellin.
Good morning.
Leandro Alvarez.
Here.
Gilbert Carreras.
Here.
Luisa Davidia.
Here.
Brittany Perzoco.
Here.
Michael Giamarco. Nicori Cerrutia. Emma Holman.
Here.
Patrick Hurd.
Here.
Joshua Locke.
President.
Jose Rosario.
Here.
Kenneth Salhany.
Here.
Jason Windrow.
Here.
Scott Kane. Michelle Broca-Behrman. Mark Paolucci. Robert Santer.
Here. Thank you. Good night.
Cycle.
Happy birthday!
Everybody say Thomas